Welcome everyone. I'm trying to get the hand recorder going as well. Here we go. Welcome everyone. So, somebody contacted me from Facebook last week, this week, a couple of days back, and stating to me, Diana, stating to me, oh, Pierre, do you see what's happening all over Western Europe, in Germany and everything else? All the things you predicted are happening. All the flood, oh my God. And I'm like, unfortunately, yes, I've seen it. And I remember when I did the channeling around December of last year, after the channeling, I remember stating to everyone, if the 2 years previous to that was about fire, this year will be about water events or things falling from the sky. And I'm saying this to you because I want to, and I've talked about this before, but I will continue to talk about it because every time these events occur, it's an opportunity for us to grow and to expand and to understand and process things in a completely different way. When I'm seeing videos of the devastation that is still happening in Germany, in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, and in Austria as well, in Salzburg, in Austria, a city that I've been in, all the cars that are being washed away, the roads, the giant craters, sinkholes that were created in Germany. It's the area near Bavaria. And I've been in that region, in the Switzerland side, where near Basel, that if you cross a road, you're actually, it's the same town. One part of it is Germany, the other part is Switzerland. And so it's a beautiful, picturesque, like you're going back in time. And to find that this whole thing has been washed away and devastated is very hard to process. But it is only hitting people now because it's happening in Western Europe. For the past 4 years, there has been flood that have been happening all over Africa, all over Asia, in China, in South America, that our world, the Western world, the first world, have not paid any attention to. And the people in Germany are crying and they are distraught. I can't believe this is happening in Germany. There's over 156 people that are dead. There's a lot more missing. They are still searching the debris, the cars that have been washed away, because it happened so fast that people were still in their car as they got washed away. We've had that in the Caribbean many times where I'm from. We call this kind of flash flood water lavalas. And once that water begins to come down, you have to get to high ground, top of a roof somewhere or whatever. It will wash everything away. And you can't go in it because there are boulders, there are pieces of debris, there are all kinds of things that are inside of it, including cars. And I remember when I was a kid, this happening in front of a house, and you see cars, you see refrigerator, you see all these things moving in this muddy thing being taken away. I've lived it. So when I see these events happening in a video, it's not an abstraction for me. I have a relationship to this. At the same time that this was happening in Europe, it was happening, or there was a sandstorm in Saudi Arabia, and a giant sandstorm followed by a flash flood. Again, creating sinkhole and doing all this in devastation it's been doing for the past 2 years now. The city of Oman has been completely destroyed, again by flash flood. And while this is happening in Western America, not just the US, but in Canada, all these wildfires are taking place. All of it connected to one thing: climate change. Politically, you may deny it as best as you can, but it is there and it's evident, and it's something that our generation and the generation that follows will have to contend with. I have a client in California that was a year ago living near the Mojave Desert, near Joshua Tree, and she got evacuated twice because of the fire was so close to her, and the smoke that gets into your lungs, or that makes noon looks like it's the middle of the night, and that you have to get out, and you have to find somewhere where you can breathe because you're choking, you can breathe. So she then moved and traveled all the way to Massachusetts, and for about 2.5 months, everything was wonderful. She was living in the forest, she was getting all this fresh air, and she was seeking an area where she could breathe easy. And then come now, 3 fires around Massachusetts, she now had to flee. She's going back now to the Joshua Tree area because there are no more trees left. I suppose I'm going to be there okay, blah, blah, blah. And my advice to her is that you cannot outrun this. Everywhere you go, something is going to happen. There has to be a different way for you to handle this. And why I'm saying this, it's because I want you to understand that in your life right now, it may not be flood or fire, but it might be COVID, or it might be some other crisis that is happening to your friends and to your family that is causing you to be away, disconnected to your peace and to your serenity. And I want to talk about this today because it's extremely important for ascendance to happen. You have to stay in a state of peace, serenity, and neutrality. And not being in that state or being jarred away by these survival global planetary events that are taking place is extremely jarring. My conversation with my client in California, I'm like, maybe the thing for you to do is to move to a different coast where it's not happening right now. At least you'll have 1 year of reprieve. God knows what's going to happen to us a year from now, where we are in the East Coast. Maybe something else is going to come. But where you are right now, shuffling, going every 2-3 months, you have to travel from one place to another and flee, makes no sense. And she's always watching the wind change and the smoke index. And she's like, I just watch it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is not a normal state of being. For you every morning to look online for the smoke index and where the wind is blowing, as to know where to drive and where not to drive. This is you being in crisis management permanently. And there is no way you can be at peace and you can connect and do real deep spiritual work to allow ascendance and higher densities, higher chakras to come in, when every time you have to worry, am I smelling smoke? Do I have to flee? Or is flood coming, or is the sandstorm coming? Now, yours may not be as dramatic, but I am inviting you to think about your personal situation and what kind of crisis you might be feeling. Maybe the crisis is financial, maybe the crisis is emotional, maybe the crisis is interfamily dynamics that are toxic that you have to terminate. And I'm saying this because I want you to examine your life with the filter of finding your peace. Whatever it is that's in your life right now, that when you're doing it, whether it is people, places, or things, institution, activities, every time you're doing it, you're not at peace, you should be walking away from it. Because if it doesn't give you peace and alignment, there is no reason why you should exist in it. There's no reason why you should allow yourself to be engulfed in it, to be engaged with it. It's like a bad relationship. You know the relationship is toxic, nothing of it is healthy, but you keep going back to it over and over again. I was telling my client in California, this is now for 3 years now. Every 3 months, you have to quickly pick up and go somewhere else. This is extremely unhealthy. It's 3 years of you not being in serenity. So whatever spiritual practice that you're doing in between, when you have a few months of reprieve and etc., and when you're sleeping and you think you're at rest, when you're surrendering into spirit and you think you're at rest, you're not really at rest. There's a part of you that's still scanning for danger. And that's the problem. You have to allow yourself, whether it is a political situation that's causing you to be out of rest, whether it is your own health concern, family, friends who are in crises. For me, a lot of my problem is my students, my clients, and my family. That's my biggest concern, because my heart is so big and I want to make sure that everybody is okay. And I take people's burden very close to my heart. And this is the way I'm realizing that I get out of alignment. A few days of enough crisis for me to try to help people fight. It's funny today. I go to the waterfront every day and I sit there. I've been doing this since COVID. Every time, as long as the weather permits, I go to the same bench, the same location, and I do my hour-long practice meditation. Sometimes it's longer depending on the timing I have, and I walk back. I don't realize the effect that I'm having. But one of the people that are cleaning up the park, they wear this blue thing, and they're sweeping, they're cleaning all the time. He had asked me a couple of times for time, and we always said hello, good morning, how are you, kind of thing. Today, him and I walk in the same direction, and we had a long conversation. Because his whole thing is like, I see you out there. How you doing? Oh, sir, are you okay? I'm like, I'm doing fine. I see you were just out there meditating. I said, yes. And we started talking. And he said, I try to pray and meditate in the morning too when I wake up. And he said, you must be a coach, because when you sit down, the way you start going into it, I can feel your entire aura all around you. I could feel peace. I could feel this serenity coming in. And I said, yeah, I have to do this because there's so many crises happening around the world and everybody's leaning on me for guidance. And if my light is dim, I have no light to give to you. And he looked at me and he said, that's profound, that's very deep. I said, that's right. If my light is dim, because I'm out of alignment, I am scared for whatever reason. And I had to tell you a lot of those fears, because friends, family members, because this is the way my spiritual psychology is laid out. It's through the people I care for that I get out of alignment. Like when my client in California is having a crisis because she has to flee, I get concerned, I get worried. When this one is having this problem, I get worried with that one. And but one of the things that I do, if I don't have that hour and change in the morning when I can actually sit down and create this connection, I am completely off center for the rest of the day. It's not that I don't pray when I wake up in my apartment in the morning, but by 9 o'clock or depending on my schedule, sometimes it's midday. I try to do it at 9 o'clock now because it gets so hot that if I do it early in the morning, it's cool enough for me to go to the waterfront, to sit under a tree. And then after that, I come back in and when it's hotter, I don't have to be outside. But this man noticed, and we were having a long, almost 15 minutes walk, because he was walking in the same direction for his post, for where he was supposed to go out and clean. And we had a long conversation. And he was like, I could see that in you. I could see it. It creates a sense of calm. And because most of the time my eyes are closed. Now, after I'm done, sometime I have my book with me. I start reading certain passages depending on the number of time. Sometimes it's 35 more minutes, 45 more minutes. I'm reading. As I'm doing this, people who are walking by are engaging me. even the children and the kids, and they're looking at me, because when I'm in that state, I'm able to let go of all of these burdens and realign myself to my peace. I can allow myself to go into a place where I am not trying to change, alter, and more importantly, control anything. That's the part. I'm not trying to control anything. And when I get into that state, the wrinkles are gone. Everything peels out, everything pulls off. I don't have to, I'm not in agitation. I'm not worried. I'm not, you know, and more to the point, I get I'm in such a deep state of rest internally that I begin to enjoy the liberation and the freedom and the fact that all these people problem, God has it. I don't have to worry about the one with the smoke, that one with this other issue, the one with, I'm going to surrender, give it all to God, give it all to God. And as I surrender and let go of all of this, I let go of all of this, then I think of my own predicament. Because these crises that my friend, my circle of influence is experiencing weighs on my cellular structure. I can feel internally inside of me part of my body that were clenched, tight, that were holding in fear of how do I advise someone that has such a unusual need, what's the ascended way to help them overcome. And I take the burden of responsibility on me as to what do I say to them. And when I surrender and let go of all of it, I can feel my body, the parts of my body where I was holding this cellular thing opening up and getting released. And I can feel literally the burden getting lifted from me. And I sigh in relief, thinking I'm not holding this crap no more. I'm not holding this. And, I go through my whole body, releasing and letting go. And of course, for me, depending on the day, there are times where I have to go for 15 minutes during breath control before my whole body opens up, because I'm so tight with concern, and cellularly the chaos on the outside, because I'm still thinking, because there's a part of me, this is typically human, fight or flight, the idea of surviving. I'm thinking of all my clients that are running up and down trying to find a safe place. And I'm thinking to myself, is there such a thing as a safe place? And what is safety as a concept? And where is that safety? And what I'm concluding is that for me, safety is to exist in that peace, to exist in that serenity, and to allow myself to sink so deeply in the state of obedience and surrender to that higher power that I'm releasing everything into, that I am allowing whatever this greater power than me wants to contribute to my predicament to show up for me. And I'm all ears to it. And sure enough, when I am in that state, what eventually happens is that it could be while I'm reading my book after I've done the meditation, but what I am supposed to say or do as it relates to the people in my circle of influence come to me. And sometimes when I sit there, when the information arrives, this is the advice I have to give them. And I immediately get my phone out and I start texting. Or I make a quick call. Just a quick advice, I would suggest that you do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 and I'm done. I am inviting you to realize what are, because all of us on the planet, given where we are right now, whether you are conscious of it or and it's happening unconsciously, these events are scaring you. And if you're saying you're not scared, you're in denial. Now it's to find a way to manage that fear, to release it, to let it go, and more to the point, to allow yourself to find the clarity and the trust in your higher power, that if a danger like this were to come toward your way, you would know ahead of time, and you would have the agility to move away quickly. Now, I understand that a lot of you, again, it's an invitation for you to understand that you need to know where your peace is. And there are days when I wake up after the concerns and the things that are happening daily and the bombardment, and particularly if you're watching these normal news channel where they're bombarding you with all of these fears over and over again, and you're watching all of this, you're gonna get yourself to a point where you're gonna wake up in a state, maybe not conscious, but subconscious fear. And if you're trying to do the spiritual practice that's necessary for ascendance, no matter how many meditations I forwarded to you, how many times I said do this, that, or the other, you might sit through it and muscle through the meditation. But if those external events were not there, agitating the metrics of the 3D reality, which is fear, you would have gotten much deeper. And the kind of energetic shift it would create on you would be much more profound than you being not completely in a state of surrender, because there is a part of you, this is typical of us in 3D, that is trying to be prepared to survive. Any questions or any comments so far? I am inviting you to acknowledge in you, in your life, whether you do it aloud or not, but I'm inviting you to realize that, let's say, the way the planet was 10 years ago, it's not the way it is now. And to acknowledge also that, giving that fact, although all of you who are on the call right now who are listening to me on Patreon or any other platform that you're getting this message, although we are all deeply spiritual and we are doing the real work, but to not acknowledge that we're constantly being bombarded by external events that are creating fears would be a complete state of dishonesty. We would be delusional and not acknowledging the fact and the truth that, let's say, whatever was happening after the harmonic convergence in 1989, where a lot of people ascended and everything was in a state of bliss, and there were all of this alignment, all of this, a whole bunch of people ascended, because, and ascension at that time was a lot easier. You had to do certain kind of practice, you had to be disciplined, etc. But it was a lot easier. And today it's much more complicated. And the complication comes because we are now collectively experiencing the demolition of the 3D paradigm. And these events are demonstrating the actual demolition. And yet, we still have, despite the fact that all of these events are happening around us and it's more complicated, we still have to figure out a way to still remain in peace. And I'm saying to you, and I'm acknowledging it in me, that the way I was 4 years ago, when I used to go in that state of serenity, where I was literally, there were days, there were weeks, 2 weeks period, where I would wake up in the morning, I didn't have to do any practice because it was already there. Everything was aligned. I was euphoric. I was ecstatic. It was just like, oh my God, all this energy worked. Even during the throes of COVID, in May, let's say June of 2020, there were moments for weeks at a time where all of the energy was already there. And I'm finding it more complicated now to get into that alignment. It's not that I don't get to it, but I have to do a whole lot of other work to go back into that space. Because there's the external paradigm deconstruction is getting more profound and much more visible. And because of this, and I have other people in all these different grids who are experiencing crises, it's getting to me, and I have to help them. What do you think I should do, Pierre? What do you think this is what everyone keeps asking me all the time. What do you think I should do, Pierre? Well, you should pray to your God and all that. I'm saying this typically to everyone. You should ask internally. You should do but ultimately, a lot of time, initially that's what I say, but a day later, 2 days later, when I go in meditation, Spirit usually tells me it doesn't tell me what they should do or what's the safe path for them to follow, but it's typically about the wisdom that the crisis that they are in is trying to teach them. The clarity for that wisdom. That usually comes through after I do my practice and my meditation, which is to me essential. It's like me getting up in the morning and brushing my teeth. If I don't do it, I'm not right for the rest of the day. And I know it's the same for all of you, but I just want to acknowledge, and maybe you don't need my permission, but I want to acknowledge the fact that whatever you're struggling with, I'm struggling with it too. I'm having the similar kind of situation and similar kind of events and circumstances that are around me as a way for me to, and I have to surrender. Very recently, the president of Haiti was killed, and I'm originally from Haiti, and that whole chaos and all of the complicated, twisted, multiple plots and subplots and political agenda and all of that information for a while was coming like a fury. And I had to acknowledge with my family and my sister, I'm like, you know what? Don't show me any more of these videos, because it's taking me out of alignment. I can't find my peace. The more of these things I watch, the more cellularly I can feel myself clenching everywhere. I can feel myself out of alignment. I'm not at peace. I'm not in that state of surrender, because true ascendance, listen carefully to what I'm saying here, because this is a profound secret. True ascendance is the border that exists between surrender and right action. This is where mastery exists. Because when you're in that state where you're no longer taking personal and singular control for the external events that are happening around you, and you take it and you surrender it and give it to spirit, and you allow the blessed field to take over. When you are in that state of complete surrender, where you let go of your identity and your investment in you trying to control and trying to find safety for yourself, for all your friends and all your family, and you have to do this way, you're controlling everything. The moment you let go of that and you give it completely out, the blessed field will come back to you with the nullifying frequency that will cancel the crises or the emotional charge or the misalignment or the things that's out of whack in your life or in your circle of influence, the people that you're caring for in their own life. And the moment that information comes in, typically for me, the way I act on it, the moment it comes in, I get the alignment, I understand what I am supposed to do or what the person I was interceding for, the wisdom that they're supposed to deduce from this, I immediately text them. I just stop what I'm doing. If I'm reading, I just stop what I'm doing and I text them. Or I send them a quick email. Or a quick call. That way I act while it's happening, while it's still in my head. Sometimes the alignment or the healing, by the time I actually text or say something to them, because a lot of time their problem, as I release it into God, the blessed field responds, and when the response come back, it immediately, if it's somebody who's in a crisis, it immediately change their environment and their circumstances, and sometimes miraculously and instantaneously, their disempowerment stop the moment I get the insight of what they should be doing. So when I reach out to them and I say X, Y, Z, they had already received it and they energetically are in a completely different space. This is true manifestation. When you begin to realize that it is not you that can really manifest everything, but it's you bringing all the items that are out of whack and out of balance into the blessed field, and let the blessed field respond back to you. And when you get the insight, then you act somehow to symbolically ground it onto the earth, to connect it to the earth. Are you getting what I'm saying? Please acknowledge this, because this is, I'm giving you the secret in the universe that can make all kind of miraculous change happen for you. Because all of the greatest healing that I've ever done, where people have walked off my table completely healed, came because of this. I don't have the power to change, alter, heal no one. Pierre is not as smart as he looks. But I know where to take it. And when I get into that field, I know what to do, which is to just let it go. And when I let it go and I completely surrender it and I release it into that field, and it's not for me to do anything else, and I just change. I usually go back and read or do something else. I just released it. It's not my problem. It's not my burden anymore. I don't have to think about it. And let's say half hour later, an hour later, or 2 hours later, all of a sudden, an insight. Something that my mind could not have cooked up, but that came from that infinite field of endless solution set. Sometimes they tell me the problem is solved. You don't have to do anything. Just let it go. Other times you need to communicate this XYZ, or you personally in your life need to do that to solve this, that, or the other.
I have a question, Pierre.
Yes. I'm listening.
Yes, I'm just thinking how to phrase it. You said that the answer, you basically, let's say if you have a query on an issue, right, or you need clarity on something, and you surrender it and let go. And have you had experiences where you will get the answer right away, or does it usually come back later, similar to Dantian work?
Sometimes it shows right away. Sometimes it shows right away. Yep.
Okay. It could be both.
It could be both. Other times it's an hour later, 2 hours later.
Right.
For me, the biggest thing for me is to let it go. Okay? I'm not obligating I'm not obligating the universe to give me an answer right away.
Right.
When I let it go, I don't care anymore. The problem is solved. It's not mine anymore.
Right.
If I truly release it, it's not mine. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right. Is it this? Can you do that for yourself, for your own
Yes.
problem? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
And when I actually let it go like this, that's when the miraculous thing happened.
Right. Because it's almost, in a way, it's a certainty.
It's not even a certainty. Whatever your problem is, it's emptiness. And if you can let it go into the emptiness, which is the blessed field, the solution set will precipitate out at some point to you.
Right. Right. Got you. Okay. Thank you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the other things, I want you to understand this. It may sound like I'm saying gibberish, but if you want to really know the real, forget the book, The Secret, about how to manifest. This is where you're manifesting, not from your own will and power. Imagine it's already there and it's there. See it so clearly, the intention and the desire. This is you trying to manifest out of your own will and volition. I'm telling you, it works sometimes. Most of the time, it doesn't work. This is something, if you do it, every time you do it, and you really do exactly what I'm saying now, which is to completely let it go, it works every time. And all the ascended masters, from the planetary masters all the way to Lord Melchizedek, who was the Logos. This is the same principle that they use. You have to simply surrender everything and let it go completely as you're releasing it, and it's not your burden, it's not your responsibility anymore. Because when it's your burden and you're trying to control it, it clenches your entire cellular structure. It creates an imprint of you trying to will it, and there is a sense of you. It's very hard for me to explain it, but in my cellular body, it has a very specific signature and imprint and vibration that I'm holding it, and it's clenching to me. And the moment I'm able to surrender it and let it go, it's a completely different thing. And the moment I can do this, whether it's my problem or somebody else's problem, at the moment I let it go, their problem will instantaneously be solved. Or they will find the means to solve it. The universe will give it to them. So it's that borderline between complete surrender of all of the burden and all, particularly now there's so much chaos. It's for me, okay, all of these chaos, all of these things that are happening around the planet, all of this dynamic, natural disasters and climate change and, emergencies and etc. It is the universe taking us through a crucible of fire, because we are now approaching a galactic equator crossing where we are being asked to dimensionally lead the planet into an evolutionary step of being the gateway and the pathway for humanity to move into a higher density. And because of this tremendous responsibility, we are being asked to become completely spotless in front of the throne of God. We're being asked to be purified. Consider all of these events that are happening around the planet right now that are clenching our own body, consciously or unconsciously, causing us to be, you think you're at rest and you slept. Oh, I slept okay. People ask me, you slept okay? I slept okay. But I cannot say I slept fantastic. I slept extremely well, because there was a part of me that was not in complete surrender. Because there was a part of me that's scanning for danger, that's trying to figure out where is the safe place is on the planet right now. Should I be here? Should I travel? Should I go upstate? What should I do? There's a part of me that's having that subconscious, below the threshold of, of my consciousness. There's a ongoing conversation about me being safe or not safe. And I don't know if any of you have acknowledged this in you, but as long as you remain in that state, you're not at peace. You're not at peace. You cannot be at peace if you're in that state. Despite all of this agitation and all of this turbulence, we have now to transcend all of this and still find peace, serenity, and neutrality. This is the gift and the opportunity that these events are providing us. God knows there's enough people out there who are trying to radicalize us. A lot of light workers have lost their way, and they're busy trying to tell you that or the other. Don't believe in this, don't believe in that, and they're trying to tell you that if you're doing that, you're not of light. If you're doing this, you're not of that, and they're trying to, whatever awakened state that they're in, they're trying to militarize us and radicalize the rest of the world into their understanding. Not realize that true spiritual growth is a personal thing. It's an intimate growth between you and your higher power. And if anybody is trying to tell you, if you're not this way, you're not of light and you're not of God and you're not you're not going the right way, whoever is saying this is no different than the church fathers who dogmatically controlled the path of humanity for the past 5,000 years. And that's not spirituality. Spirituality is a personal relationship with your higher power. So if I'm going to have that relationship, I should have the right to choose. And if my journey is taking me slightly tilted this way and you're going that way, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It means that this is my path and that's your path. And both of us should be comfortable enough to follow our own path and without judgment. What I'm finding is that a lot of people are not in that state. They think they have all the answers and they're busy trying to apostatize and trying to submit other people to their will. And this is coming directly from ego. It has no spirituality in it. It has no merit whatsoever in a true ascended path. So when I see and hear and you know, a lot of these light workers who are projecting this stuff, that's why most of the time on mass media, I remain mute. I don't say anything. Because a lot of the stuff that are coming out there, I don't have all the clarity all the time. Sometimes the flag is at half mast because I too have my moment where I am, again, not in my peace, not in my alignment, and not in my clarity. Today happened to be a good day, but there are days where it's not there or it's reduced. And when I'm in that state, this is why I was telling this man this afternoon that was working on the park, we were talking, and when I told him, if my light is dim, I cannot shine light on you. I'd rather stay quiet and say nothing while I am moving through whatever it is that I'm moving through so that I can find my way and my peace through everything. And when the clarity comes, I know what I'm supposed to do. You have to stand here, stay that. You have to create a new class about this. You have to write that or the other and send it to the email. You have to, I know what I'm supposed to do. And until I have that clarity, I'm not going to act. There are many times where other students, other clients and family members, why don't you do X, Y, Z? Why don't you do blah, blah, blah? I have somebody right now that keep asking me to do a class about remote healing. Why don't you do a class? I would sign up right away, blah, blah, blah. And it's a good idea, but until I get the alignment and the clarity that this is the right timing, again, because of the turbulence that's happening around there, I don't want to start engaging in something that's going to be sideswept by turbulence. I'd rather spend the time to create and to bring forth and manifest with the blessed field. When the blessed field tell me it's time for me to create, it's time for me to manifest. Any questions, any comments? I want to go back over some the conversation I had just a minute ago with Ursula about getting an answer. Should the answer come immediately, or when I completely surrender and I let go, I want to become empty. And the answer after a while is not important. I don't need and I don't expect an immediate dialogue back. I let go completely and I surrender and I'm unburdened. And there is a state when you're so deeply unburdened of liberation and freedom that for maybe a half hour, an hour, I like to enjoy. Where I feel free. And I mean free in every cell, every DNA, in every part of my body. I am completely free. I don't need to do nothing. I'm not tasked to do anything. I am completely free. I am at the root of existence, where I am now a member of this blessed field, and I am allowing the morphogenic awareness of the collective to take over. And I don't need an answer. I just need to enjoy the bliss, the euphoric bliss that this is creating for me. And the moment this is over, meaning by that, it could be a few hours later, or it could be even while, maybe let's say half hour later or 15 minutes later, the way the answers come, it's the most, at the time, I'm not even thinking about the answer. And it happened in the most unexpected and miraculous way. And it feels to me more like, you know how when you're watching a seashore and a wave comes and rush against the sea and wash over it, it feels like something comes back and just like an echo returns back to me and it washes over me. And the echo has the answer in it. But always, to me, the answer is always unexpected. It's not what I would think of with my brain and my cerebellum. Sometimes I surrender things and I get no echo. I just surrender it, I'm unburdened, I don't have to think about it anymore, and it's done. the universe energetically calibrates it and brings the scalar invert to it and nullifies it, and that's all I need to know. So if I have an area in my body where I was holding that information is canceled, nullified. I don't need to know all the detail. I don't have to go over every minutia, every little detail, and to know this is what this is, and that one is that one is. I don't have to know any of this. Again, it's a state of surrender and right action. Because if you know too many detail and too much minutia, yes, Marjorie, the echo is the whisper of the Holy Spirit. When you know too much details and too much, okay, I'm gonna say something here. You're gonna forgive me because you're all ladies. You're gonna forgive me for this. And I've noticed this a lot with my female clients and students. There is a certain level of questioning and querying and trying to find out details about everything that is more prevalent with female than they are with male. And maybe it's also because of my race structure. I'm third ray, and I'm more big picture kind of person. And I don't need to be concerned about the details and the minutiae and how things are manifested. In fact, most of the time when a client approaches me and they're telling me the long story, I'm like, Cliff Note version. I need to know your name. I need to know the burden, and I need to know in general terms, and I need to know if I have permission. I don't need to know how many people were involved and then the color of things, and then this one said that to this one. And I don't need to know any of that stuff. The less I know, the better it is for me, because if I know too much, Pierre, my cerebellum, will begin to calculate and tactically get involved into the detail and the minutia. And the more I know, the more my brain will hold it. I will not surrender, not completely. So I've noticed, my personal experience is that a lot of women spend their time in that control, in that minutia. And I've told so many people, so many friends, so many family members, clients, big version, short version of everything. And there are times they're sending me things, don't send me anymore. I don't need to know any of this. Because it's going to get clogged in my consciousness and in my cellular structure. And I will not be at peace. I will not find my serenity. Any questions, any comments?
Well, yeah, I think it's because it's probably the structure of a woman, because women are more detail oriented than men. So when they are explaining something, they go to all those little petty details to just explain what they have to explain. And in my opinion, I think that's what's going on. Men are more like they don't need the drama. They don't need to hear this. They don't need that. They just want to know the conclusion.
I agree.
And a woman is not the same way they were built. It's not the same. I think a woman is more like they I think they see more like a plan A, B, C. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a man is only seeing that the vision is not the same as a woman's vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the problem is.
I agree with you that we are different, we're wired differently. I completely agree with that. And again, as I said, and that's the reason why I'm mentioning it, is that I find that sometimes there's too many minutiae, too many details that you don't need to focus on, because the more abstract you are and the more you can surrender all of that. Because I know what happened to me when I have these details. They get stuck in me and I can't let them go. My consciousness starts churning them and turning them, and I'm not at peace. I'm not at peace.
And you are right, because on a spiritual level, if a woman is thinking with plan part A, B, C, it's not going to be easy for you to let go and surrender
Mm-hmm.
to the fear, because you are in a way you are controlling the outcome and the event.
Yep.
So on a spiritual level, it's not really good in that way for a woman. That this, in other words, the work is becoming a little bit much harder for a woman to do, because of the way that they are wired.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
No, anyway, my opinion. I don't know.
Yep. 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 I will tend to agree with that. Okay. Although there were men that I've met that were also as minutia oriented, but I, I I I can tell you that for me, knowing this about myself, that's why I want the top layer version. Give me the critical parts, and I will take it into the field, because the field doesn't care about the details. I do. I'm doing it because I want to know the detail. Like if I'm telling a story to a woman about, let's just say about a healing or a conversation I'm having with somebody, and I asked this and I said that, blah 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 blah. And what about this? Did you ask about that? Did you know that? And there's a 15 more question. I'm like, no. Most of the time, I don't need to know the details. Because if I know more detail, I become more burdened. I ask the big question for any kind of healing, what's basically necessary. What is the nature of the issue or the struggle or the burden? The name of the person, and then permission. If I have that, that's all I need. Because I'm not solving the problem. When it goes into the field gets all of it.
Okay, I think what you're saying to us is you need to know yourself and how you process something, and when you understand how you work, and if someone's coming, to you with something for some help, it's like I would just say, like in the early days and going to church, they say, bring your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. You don't have to. And you don't have to do the outlining like Marjorie was just saying about how it should be done, because some people they'll bring the problem, but then because they have so many ways that they want it solved, they realize that they have taken it right back with them, because they're not asking for the universe to provide them an answer. They're asking for it to be worked out according to their own understanding. And in the science of mind, they have a particular saying. It said, if you could get your own bloated nothingness out of the way, then that will allow for spirit to bring the highest and greatest good for everyone that's involved, because you have no idea how spirit is going to bring that answer that not only will bring peace to you for having gone there with that trust, but for the person who's receiving, and the many ways that that peace is going to go out into the universe for all those that were concerned in that particular issue, because it's never only one thing that happens. And so when we get our own, and this depends on whatever level you're on, it doesn't matter. If you're at the level of an ascended master, there's still something that you're working on, because there's more to go. So unless you've already completed all of those levels and come to total realization, there's always some bit of ego there. So if we can get ourselves out of the way wherever we are, then we can allow for the fullness of the spirit to bring the perfect solution, to all that are involved. Then that's one thing. I used to listen to my grandmother when she would say a prayer. She would always say, "Lord, thou knowest." So if you're saying that the spirit is omniscient, omnipotent, all knowing, then why do you need to give any details? If the spirit already knows these things, why I need to tell you that? So I was listening to a young lady today, and she was explaining how, it is in her particular religion. She is Islamic, and talking about the person going on to the next level. And she said that the person, when they get to, and when they cross over, that the angel will ask them, what is their religion, what is the law, and what is your, who do you serve? Now, I'd say, well, that's fine if that's what she believes. Mm-hmm. I said, but what would God need to know what your religion is for when he knows there is no such a thing? Mm-hmm. What is he going to ask? Who would ask you that? So I'm finding for my own self as I move along, and maybe because I don't have as much patience as I used to have, I don't need to know that. And so I'm going to ask you that. I don't need to make you wrong in order for me to feel like I'm right. Mm-hmm. And that has lifted a tremendous burden off of my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And it also will allow for you, for your growth, and allow for my growth too. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, if we can get ourselves out of the way, wherever we are, we can allow for the spirit to do its perfect work. Mm-hmm. That's my offering.
Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you. You're so right that sometimes the idea of us trying to control outcome by having a menu on how we want the solution to happen, and we want it to come this way or that way. This is why I was saying before, you have to surrender, and one of the biggest things you have to surrender is control.
Right.
And until you can get to the point of saying, I'm surrender the control to everything, and I'm literally cellularly, DNA, however this thing is connected to me, I'm letting it go. Completely through and through, in its most abstract form, I am releasing this emptiness. And I'm asking for the blessed field. And all I'm looking for is to be unburdened. Mm-hmm. So that I can find my peace. Instead of you going into spirit, trying to find answers for things, just as an exercise for the next week, go into spirit, release and let go so that you can find your peace and be in alignment and find liberation and see what happens. Instead of trying to look for answers and trying to figure out, because if you, I have to do this, and then I have to do that, it's not that there will not be inside where you have to take right action. But if from the get-go, that's what's in your consciousness, you already have a lens and a filter. And when you go in, you're not going to surrender completely, because you want the answer to come in a very specific way. You create a filter in front of the light, and you are not seeing the pure light. But if you surrender completely because you want to be unburdened and all you want is freedom and alignment, and you go in and you let go of everything, I'm telling you, you're going to lose 25 pounds. You read that, Celia?
Yeah. And that could be done with a laxative too.
You're gonna lose everything. You will become unburdened.
Amen.
I saw a couple of friends on the waterfront recently. One I had not seen maybe in 8 months from the gym. Had moved to Miami, he's returning back because work is starting again and he has to be back here. He was like, "What happened to you? You lost all this weight." Well, what happened to me is I'm unburdened. I'm releasing all of the stuff. I really did not change my diet. I'm eating less because I need less substance because I'm getting more light. It's a completely different dynamic. I'm not as hungry as I was. A whole bunch of things have changed for me. And I'm not trying to control the outcomes. And again, the first thing I will acknowledge, I am not the healer. I am not the seer because I cannot even see my big toe. But God sees, knows, and heals everything. And if I can take all the things that I desire, that I think I need, that I think I may be a problem or whatever, and I can give it to that power and the blessed field, what the universe wants to echo back to me will happen in its own timing, and it will be perfect. And more to the point, I will have less to do.
And that is true, because it's much about, listening to what we are saying. Because if I say I have to find something, that means it's I'm not experiencing that. I'm looking for it someplace outside of myself. But if I'm thinking in terms of this is the experience that I wish to have, if this is an experience I wish to have, then I have to allow myself to experience the peace. I'm not looking for it. I used to think maybe I think too much sometimes. But I used to listen to myself, and I was saying a particular thing about, I feel so far from God. And then one day something in my head said, well, if you feel so far from God, who moved? God is everywhere. Who moved? It must be you.
That's right.
So now I don't say things like that to myself. I'm not looking for peace. I'm allowing myself to experience peace wherever it is, and in the midst of a storm,
Yep.
experience the peace.
Yep. Celia, what you said there just triggered something for me, and I think I shared this experience with you. It was a moment in my life where I felt lost, and I was unclear about where I was going, and I was scared. Particularly, it was around the time I was renovating Guyville, and funds were running out. I was so scared, and I remember being upset, and I prayed, And I literally, I don't want to cry because every time I say this, tears start rolling down my face. I could feel the right hand of God touch this left shoulder and squeeze it. I could feel the fingers, and I could feel that like a gentle squeeze. And I could hear a voice said to me, I have never left you.
Amen. Amen.
And I started bawling out crying. Because I knew that was true in every part of my being.
Amen.
You're right. God didn't move. It is I that got distracted with so many things.
Yes.
It is I that got lost my way. And I know this intellectually. This is why every morning I make my little routine, my pilgrimage. And this man, like many other runners, male, female, children, older, young, are always coming back to the spot that I am in, and they acknowledge me, they smile, they namaste in front of me, and they keep moving. They're running, and then they slow down, they namaste, they bow down, and then they keep moving. There must be a gigantic torsion field on that bench. I am always there praying. There must be a gigantic energetic vortex or imprint in that location.
I should go and find that bench.
Yes. It's
And sit right there in the vortex.
I'm telling you, I'm there every day. And funny enough, after I spoke with that man, he had to start working, and I kept on walking. And he said, "Have a good day." I said, "Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow." And it's true, I will see him because he's always there, and I'm always there too. And he laughed. He said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." So I'm trying to make you understand that the dynamic of the dismantling of the 3D grid that's going on, and all of these events that seem very terrifying and scary and all that, are nothing more than opportunities for us to go deeper. They are invitation for us to go deeper, to go much deeper and find a connection to the divine and to God. And if you're using this simple principle, I'm telling you, forget the secret. The secret has no secret in it. It's just that stuff only works sometime. But if you're doing what I'm telling you to do, every time you're able to achieve this, it will create miraculous outcome for you. And it will come directly from God. And because when I really completely surrender and let go, I don't know what's going to happen. Every time the outcome happens, somebody got spontaneously healed, or God's spirit allows some miraculous transformation and change to happen in my life because it's personal to me and all that. I am always shocked because it's not coming from my mind. I'm not creating it. The field is creating it. I brought the intention, ease, the pure intention of the heart in, and I let it go, and the field manifested. And in the Kabbalah, they even said that the laws of nature and the physical laws of nature and consciousness in its pure form are the same. And in fact, consciousness trumps the laws of nature. This is the way that the 3 million Jews on this, Israelite and Jews on this edge of the Red Sea were able to part the Red Sea.
You use a word, Pierre, consciousness, do what? Change the law of nature?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's And in fact, I'm going to go even further. In other parts of our galaxy where there are different belief systems, the laws of nature operate differently. This is why in some world people can levitate or teleport by the power of their consciousness in their mind. All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation. Five minutes, okay? Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your entire consciousness be generated from the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive (360 degrees). Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And become aware of the morphogenic field that's all around you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you are now one with the blessed field. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all need and desires to have to do in order for me to deserve. I release all fears of catastrophic climate change events, fires, drought, flash flood, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes. I release all of it. I release all attachments, all fears, and all control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all cellular fears that I'm holding about past traumas, PTSDs, or former abuse, victimization, and I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all of the ways that I'm trying to control outcomes in the lives of others by micromanaging. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all the burdens of friends, family members, and of all the people in my circle of influence. It is not my responsibility to save, rescue, or do anything. The blessed field is capable on its own of reaching them. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all of the wrong actions, abuse, or egocentric behaviors that I initiated and that has harmed others in the past. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control that are connecting me to any dark, malevolent, and fallen energies. From this past life, from this life or all past lives. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release whatever unknown agent cellular memories, energetic hoarding, obligations, attachments, and linkages. That I am trying subconsciously to scan, battle, and survive from. I release all attachments, fear, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. in the rest of the vast continents. I claim my sovereignty. I am free, liberated. And I accept my identity as a Melchizedek. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How are you all feeling?
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome.
Traveling. Thank you, Pierre.
Enjoy. Enjoy the freedom. All right, everyone, we've reached the end of the class, and I'm gonna thank you all for listening to me. Thank you to all my Patreon subscribers for being so loyal to me. I deeply appreciate it. You know who you are. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed end of the day, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
See you Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, all.
Good
Good
night.
night.